back to Honduras to listen to President Xiomara Castro.
Of working on the offices related to the defense mechanism of work between the defense offices of the United States here in Honduras and the offices of the Defense Secretary, the Secretary of Defense and Armed Forces. And second, the way of coordination of communications through the different cooperation agencies. And the third one, it is an invitation to Washington and Florida and the Southern Command and the Cayo Hueso to know the way they are operating in the different activities, how work has been conducting, and the work that has to do with combating drug trafficking. The fourth, an invitation, an agreement for an informative session on the Sotocano air base, and to know which are the scopes of the joint work that's been done in this base. And the last one, the assistance program of military of the United States, including the issue of radars and other prioritizing issues for the Honduras government. We have ratified the United States government through the ambassador of our availability to hold permanent talks, which must be under respect and considering the principles of independence and self-determination of our peoples, and under the respect preset what has to do and that coincide with the opening of the electoral year, which will be summoned the day after tomorrow. And considering the autonomy, the independence of our homeland, we have no problem to address this working agenda that we have marked with the ambassador. I am going to give the floor to General Roosevelt Hernandez for him to expose, and then we are going to have a couple of questions.
We were listening to Secretary of Defense of Honduras address the situation in the country. We go back to images to continue listening. We are now going to listen to the chief of the military, the chief of the army of the country. Let's listen.
So we are focusing jointly with this, with cracking down the drug trafficking, organized crime on the military side, and so these approachments come to strengthen what we have been conducting. We have these works that we are about to do, and in related to the coordination to be able to achieve the system of radars, and on the other side, what is the mobility. They have been cooperating particularly with the Navy Force of Honduras in the maritime area, and we have been doing our job, and we shared what is about innovation and technological equipment to combat drug trafficking in the coasts, and what is the mobility also. And we have the ground, air and navy shields, and this was a fruitful meeting, and this has been addressed by our general in the armed forces and the constitutional president Xiomara Castro. We have beginning from January, and thanks God we are on the 8th or 9th month, and we are advancing in this fight of the drug trafficking. And so this meeting with the ambassador has come to strengthen this fight, and we are certain that we are going to strengthen the three shields of our forces in the in the air, the sea, and in the land. And so we are going to give you the floor for your questions.
Well, the press conference continues in Honduras. We just listened to the Minister of Defense, Richie Moncada, also to the Chief of the Military, Roosevelt Hernandez. They are addressing the recent situation in the country. Let's recall that Richie Moncada assumed as the Minister of Defense of the country only days ago, after a series of events that also included the President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, denouncing interference from foreign powers, also an attempted coup against her government. And in that situation, Richie Moncada assumed the Ministry of Defense of the country, and now they are addressing the current situation, giving indications on the following steps. What we are looking at are live images from Honduras, as both heads, both the Minister of Defense and also the Army Chief, have offered statements before the press, and now they are getting ready to hear from the questions from the media in present. We are going to have live images also from the press conference to see what they ask and what they address in the coming minutes. We are following closely, we have been following closely all the events that took place in Honduras. Just minutes ago, we heard from the President of Honduras herself, and now we listen to Richie Moncada.
These 4 questions are for doing a treaty, but I am going to refer briefly to the first part of the question, in the sense that we have ratified in this meeting the criteria exposed by the government of the Republic through our president in a TV chain earlier. We have ratified our commitment to fight off organized crime, public and private corruption, and fighting off drug trafficking. But our principle of fight, as of the recognition of the current conditions in the country in this matter, we have ratified each one of these affairs, and this has been crystal clear with the lady ambassador. Regarding the question by a coup of brackets, well, the armed forces, I am talking to all the armed forces and soldiers. We are a permanent institution, and what does this imply? That we are not improvised. I am 38 years old. I have been here for 38 years old, but after me, there are all other generations that have been here for 37 or 36. Yesterday I was at another academy, and those citizens have 2, 3, or 4 years, and so that's what is permanent, and it is earned with actions, with giving example. And one has an example of life here. So any of those stances, of those lying stances, are the ones who are not commanding troops, those whose actions those are persons who have their opportunity, and they didn't profit it to bless this country. And so if I were I would be the first if Moral asked me to. I would oust and give my post to other, but there are no such situation. And so if there were someone, it is a minority, for not being satisfied and for not having a position of command. You have to respect the posts, and so if there is someone who is not satisfied, it is because that someone deserves so, and I hope this could be an affair of tranquility for our society. And on the other side, you are talking about if there's going to be any clashes. From since 2022, we have never been sent to confront the Honduran society. We have never get our equipment to confront. We have never executed any violence. We have been forbidding about those kinds of actions of repressing our Honduran society. Our president has ordered us since our posts to approach the people to make social projections. We have been doing that on the medical brigades, on the agricultural projects like those of coffees, and you have to ask the Honduran society who visited Honduran public hospitals in which the army offers them some coffee, and we have been educating, we have providing education to our youngsters. We have been deploying these kinds of actions, and there have been always with the and we have been making other projections with the Catholic Church. We carry out other actions, and we even participate in the building up of houses with the Catholic Church. And those are the orders by our commander to approach the people and not repress it. Thank you very much. We are live from UNTV. It is. You know that you were meeting with the opposition. Do you know about that? Well, I am from the 27 promotion. I am third place, and I already explained the order of posts of hierarchy, and those qualities are being counted up, and in the quantification of those qualities, in between if it is a 98% from the first place and the last place, which is 94%, all these people are real efficient. So all are in the position of command. There is no person of not being able to command because they deserve it. And so if you mention there is inconformity, it is completely fake. These are people from outside that possibly can generate this kind of environment. And we are giving the example from our careers. We have difficult trainings, but some of us have it, and so that must be respected. The military environment is a life of efforts, of commitment, of giving example, and here those who are in these careers is to achieve a great level of moral, and so those who are discredited, there is a lower of morale. Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Minister. Good afternoon, General. About the issue of the coup of Barracas were announced by you, and that initiative from the internal of the armed forces is also related to the combating the drug trafficking. I said initially that we have ratified in this working meeting with the U.S. ambassador, the statements exposed by our president in our TV channel. And we have ratified the stances in the sense that the state suffered the process of dismantling of its equipment to fight off effectively drug trafficking. Luis Helbert, we have ratified the stances of the chain. And regarding the obstruction affair about the electoral process and mobilizations that have to do with the destabilizing the state about regarding the electoral process, we have assured honestly, we have sustained our stance. We have stick to our stance regarding the statements that were the basis of the last incidents, and we have exposed to that personally. We have ratified that our government is in favor of extradition as a mechanism, as one of the mechanisms of cracking down the drug trafficking. The treaty is a bilateral treaty with the United States, but Honduras has other kinds of treaties that reflect extradition, and it's been denounced that specifically, which has a bilateral nature, but we are in favor of extradition as long as extradition doesn't want to be an instrument profiting the electoral process. The day after tomorrow, the National Electoral Council will summon the elections, and this institution, the duty of this institution is to guarantee that it's going to be held the electoral process, the primary and general electoral process in the year of elections. And I think that for the expressions of the U.S. ambassador and for the way we addressed not only this working agenda, but also these affairs that you were mentioning, she recognizes and validates our stances. The meeting was a meeting of a lot of respect and with a lot of honesty, and we all accepted to not reach any agreement to destroy the electoral process. And regarding the denunciation that President Xiomara Castro did about the voices that are boosting to destabilize the state, I think that the evidence are being made public, and the general has ratified the condition of its armed forces, of its posts, and of the different posts that are in this institution. And I think that the Honduran people must be certain that from this Secretary of State we are going to maintain abided by the law and constitution, and we are going to boost the true fight against drug trafficking, and at the same time we are going to guarantee the state of peace of the country for an electoral process to be clear and transparent and so the armed forces will play their constitutional role, and we appreciate a lot the attendance that you are here, and we will continue with our work. And we will have a meeting now, so we have to go because at 1 p.m. we have to be at the Air Forces. We are going to meet with all the leaders there, or all the heads of the armed forces. It's a meeting of the command. Thank you very much.
We were listening to Honduran authorities, particularly the authorities of the army. This was the Defense Minister, Richie Moncada, and also the Chief of the Army, Roosevelt Hernandez. They were addressing the recent situation in the country. Just minutes before, we were listening to President Xiomara Castro, that also reiterated her call, saying and stating that the country is receiving a coup attempt, that is receiving international interference, and she is denouncing this. And also the conference just made, the press conference by the authorities of the Defense Ministry, had to do with reinstating their order of command, talking about the role that the army is about to take place, also the orders that the President Xiomara Castro gave them. And in this context is that we were listening to the Honduran authorities. We will come back and follow closely this topic as we have been doing so, but for now we have come